The story is about a moment ago when he was still liking his girlfriend. Suddenly the screen showed mysterious lines of text. Yuan was immediately summoned to another world. Notice of the start of the test. As soon as he opened his eyes, he appeared in a dark cave. He was still angry with life. "Where is this? Who am I?" and shouted loudly. Suddenly from behind appeared two Gobin, tall, dark, and smelly, holding large clubs wanting to kill him. He realized they were blind and couldn't see him. According to experience of farming views for bears, maybe my mission is to destroy them. Just then his worn-out slippers made a squeaking sound. The blind goblin immediately swung his stick towards him. Fortunately, Yuan was quick to dodge, otherwise he would have ended up on the ground. He was scared and lay silently on the ground. Hand tried to cover mouth to not let out strong breath. He thought they were blind and very sensitive to noise and movement. Moreover, they also know how to corner their prey. At this rate, I will be discovered. Yuan immediately threw 2 stones far away to lure them to move. Then took the opportunity of a guy who wasn't paying attention. Landed a large rock directly on its head. Because he couldn't see, the big guy followed his instincts. Angrily, he swung his stick back but squeezed his teammate extremely hard. Hit a teammate. Now he shouted loudly, "The prey is counterattacking, take it down." The guy who just got beaten thought he was an enemy and immediately hit him with a strong stick. The 2 goblins were dealt with by him just like that. Luckily, when he traveled through time, he didn't forget to bring his brain, haha. The dwarf goblin seems to be still alive, but it was crushed by its teammate's body and could not move. In the end, he was still beaten with a stick. So he could go with his accomplices. Suddenly, mysterious yellow characters emerged from their bodies and wrap around him. A message pops up saying Babylonian code power unlocked. The capacity to absorb and analyze concepts is activated. It allows him to draw power from the corpses of monsters to become stronger. Yuan was full of confidence to clear this newbie dungeon alone with a greedy smile. Let's grind the stats. In no time, he had completely defeated this dungeon. Goblin corpses lay scattered on the ground. A message pops up congratulating you on passing the test. He thought he would come home. But Yuan appeared at the Union Academy dormitory. He was then given the academy uniform. Normally he looks rustic, but when he dresses up he looks cool. Right after that he went to meet the teacher here. She is a green-skinned elf, not white, but still beautiful. She introduced herself as Mia, the combat magic teacher of Union Academy. She happily told him that his achievements were impressive. In the past 500 years, no one has achieved such a high score in the evaluation round. He doesn't really care. He just wants to go home right now. Suddenly, he was noticed by something huge in the distance. The teacher told him, "That is the reason why this academy was founded. We nurture students from every dimension to help them conquer that tower. With countless dungeons and mysteries inside it is the Tower of Babel." He was immediately startled to remember. Isn't that what Grandpa told me when I was little? That his ancestors were the true owners of the tower, and that he was the one who could reclaim the lost glory of the Ban clan, the clan of language masters. Then, thanks to the help of the professor, I was able to return home. After explaining everything to his family, his grandfather was so happy that he went crazy. "You found the Tower of Babel. Very good. You really are my grandson." His uncle had to quickly calm him down to avoid him getting too excited and fainting. After everything was settled, Yuan started preparing for school. Now in the lower dungeon of Union inside the Goblin Cave, Yuan is ready for a new adventure. With a 47mm unlimited ammo gun in hand, he begins to teach the goblins about the power of modern civilization. The elites were wiped out by a rain of bullets before they could attack, and Yuan calmly walked forward. No one dared to block his way. Here it comes. Here, it comes before my ability was limited to language, but now I have taken it from the goblins. Everything has completely changed. Babylonian code, I can linguistically absorb and manipulate the concept of everything. Every time I kill an enemy, I can get the concept that I can explain. The more I gain, the stronger I become. And the concept I got from the first dungeon, the blind goblin cave, was transferred into this staff, turning it into a powerful weapon. "That's this guy right here," Yuan said, as he looked at the spiked mace that was automatically dealing with the goblin that had just sneak attacked him, giving it a smack on the jaw that made its teeth and lips indistinguishable. This is the Goblin's Club. The first item created by Yuan by infusing demonic energy into the staff. This item can automatically manifest its true form at the owner's command and transform and move freely. Seeing his teammates being so helpful, Yuan couldn't help but stroke the mallet, filled with pride. Even though it was just a coincidence, thanks to it, I was able to do well on the assessment test. After being satisfied with the victory, Yuan glanced around at the remnants and muttered, "All right, time to clean up the spoils." "Confirm code," he said, and quickly absorbed the concepts from these corpses. The elves' possessions include life, 5 magic, 3 demon, 5 body, 3 souls, 2 leadership, 1 murder, 1 7 family, 0 5. While looking through the announcements, one thing in particular caught Yuan's attention. Among the concepts gathered from the monsters, there was one thing I had never seen before. What is a soul? As soon as Manga finished speaking, he rushed over with an eager look. "What's wrong? Do you want it?" Yuan asked, and Manga immediately nodded in agreement. Seeing that Yuan did not hesitate to give that concept to it, "Of course it's for you. Wait for me a moment, I will give you life, love, and demons too." After saying that, Yuan focused his mind and controlled the hieroglyphics floating around his hand and compressed them into a sphere. This is what I learned. Take the collected concept fragments and infuse them into the all, he thought, as he quickly stuffed the sphere into the manga bang. Immediately, the mallet emitted a dazzling light as if it were entering the process of evolution. The concepts combine harmoniously to create a strange transformation. Create an item that goes beyond all existing limits. Hearing this announcement, Yuan's eyes flashed with amazement and delight. What so? One of the concepts I separated automatically transformed, he exclaimed. Immediately the ball of light broke, revealing a small snake inside. Thanks to the superior fusion process, the level 10 demon beast was completed. Beast. The combination of a beast and a demon creates a beast. How amazing. Can I touch it? Yuan said as he gingerly reached forward, both excited and nervous. Luckily, the snake still remembered its owner and actively rubbed his head against Yuan's arm. Personality is still the same. I guess it can still transform into a gun or shield, Yuan thought to himself. So cute. From now on, your name will be Y. Before going back, check your growth stats. As he spoke, he focused on his personal information board. Ban Yuan's life. 45, 1, body 32, soul 324, 5, magic power 38, 7, swordsmanship 14, 2, leadership skill 1, 10,000, one-eyed 105, 10,000, hearing 100, 10,000 words, God 100. Let's see. Life is pretty much like a level in a game. Body describes the physical state, but why is my soul stat so high? Things like 1,000 eyes or 1,000 ears are probably related to my language skills. If I don't understand something, I'll ignore it for now. After saying that, Yuan turned to look at Y and asked, what do you think? Why can I integrate with my classmates now? Hearing that, Y shook his head continuously, looking embarrassed. It's okay. The most important thing is still the growth index, right? Yuan comforted. At that moment, the system gave an announcement. The dungeon core has been destroyed. You can leave this dungeon. Do you want to leave? Okay. Let's go out. It's time for the Union Academy entrance ceremony, Yuan said as he pressed the button on the screen. He was immediately teleported away by the magic circle. The next scene is the Union Academy auditorium. In the Great Hall, the newcomers quickly found their seats. Yuan was also teleported to the center of the hall. The scene that took place startled a few people around. Wow, there are so many people, but, he said, while activating his one-eyed magic. The one-eyed eye is a pair of eyes that can read anything depending on the level of proficiency. They help the user grasp the temperament and spirit of the target. In a flash, the attribute stats of the people around appeared in Yuan's sight. This lava man had a BBC stat. The handsome blonde guy has a pretty impressive S-index. Looking at these numbers, Yuan couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Sure enough, the students who entered through the normal process are much stronger, at least 10 times stronger than me. But where is my place? He wondered. Just then, a voice rang out from behind. Hey, if you're from the secondary space, then don't hang around here anymore. Get out of there. The owner of the words was a big guy who looked like a boss in a board game. Yuan knew he was no match for him, so he could only wave his hand and reply, "Oh, okay, thanks," seeing him so cowardly. The group burst out laughing. However, Yuan was not angry at all. It's no wonder that people who entered through the normal process are so confident. They discriminate against me just because I come from a secondary space. It's the same everywhere. The strong always look down on the weak, he thought to himself. At that moment, as if witnessing Yuan's loneliness, a blonde guy in the distance raised his hand and called out to him, "Hey, special admission student, sit here." Yuan immediately ran over. "Is this place reserved for students from the secondary space?" "It looks like it's isolated," he thought awkwardly. When he looked at the stats of the people around him, his eyes almost popped out. Oh my God, are these guys really students from the secondary space? Their stats are enough to defeat the regular incoming students. In Yuan's eyes, the blonde guy had a SAA index. The white-haired girl is SSS, and the pink-haired girl is ABS. In addition, he will see 3 other lines of indicators, C and F. After seeing each other's faces clearly, Yuan realized that she knew the blonde guy. "Is this Banya highlight? Is this our place?" "That's great," Yuan said while thinking to herself. "This guy is Light. A handsome guy I met in the dorm before the entrance ceremony. Our first meeting was quite special." When they met in the dorm room, Light greeted Yuan by pointing his sword straight at him and shouting, "Who is it?" looking at the sword that was cutting his neck. Yuan widened his eyes. "Hey, dressed like this, who else could it be?" "I'm a freshman. I'm your roommate," Yuan yelled, making Light realize that his actions were too extreme. "Oh, sorry. I just finished my practical assessment, so I'm still nervous. Are you okay?" "Yeah," Yuan replied, but he was still a bit upset. Then he thought to himself, he looks like a prince from a fairy tale, a bit hot-tempered, but he apologized, so it's not too bad. Yuan told about his test, which was fighting a blind goblin. Light sneered in an arrogant tone. "Is that your practical assessment? Even a rookie with basic training can easily hunt goblins." "My practical test opponent was an entire army of trolls and ogres." In an excited tone, he recounted his exploits while making Yuan feel his blood boil, forcing him to take a few seconds to apologize to himself. "Not bad, but this name is really awkward," ignoring that the male lead's face gradually became more comfortable. "Ah, now that you mention it, We haven't even showered yet, and we're already chatting with each other. It's been a long time since I had someone to talk to about that, me too. Lai nodded in agreement. Immediately after, the general smiled and took off his shirt, revealing his muscular body. Okay, let's go take a shower. The bathroom here is shared, right? Let's talk while we shower, he suggested casually. Meanwhile, Light suddenly blushed, as if embarrassed. You go take a shower first. Yuan. Huh? Yuan turned around to ask, but Light was so embarrassed that he didn't dare to look straight at him. I'll take a shower later, Light said awkwardly, causing Yuan to look at him with doubtful eyes. Back to reality. Yuan told herself that time would erase this awkwardness. Besides, this was an area reserved for special students, so the other two must be. Thinking of this, he turned to greet them. Hello, guys. Hello, the pink-haired girl replied. When he saw her cute, innocent appearance, Yuan almost fainted from low blood pressure. So cute. Nice to meet you, he repeated, then turned to the white-haired girl. Oh yeah, you too. Hello. Facing him was a white-haired girl with black eyes looking at Yuan intently, making him a bit confused. What's wrong? Yuan asked. That thing wrapped around your arm looks interesting, she said calmly, and Yuan immediately understood what she was implying. He did not hesitate to call out the little snake. Why, you mean, why? You all saw it right. Looking at Y's adorable appearance, all three of them melted. Even the cold, white-haired girl blushed with excitement. So cute. This snake is the item from before, right? It's only been a few days, how much has it changed? Light asked. Can I touch it? It looks so cute, the pink-haired girl wished. The white-haired girl introduced herself. I'm Doc Gojin, the daughter of a martial artist. What's your name? I'm from Yuan, the male lead replied. Then he asked again, but what is martial arts? Do you have any martial arts? Like fighting perhaps? Hearing this question, all three people burst into laughter, making Yuan confused. Even Gojun was trembling so much that he had to cover his mouth. You're not entirely wrong in understanding that. Really, if it's a fantasy world, then martial arts aren't strange, Yuan said with a smile. The pink-haired girl also introduced herself. I'm Ruchel, nice to meet you. I'm Aslight. You can call me Light. Nice to meet you. Doc Gojin Ruchel, Light said with a smile. However, right after he finished speaking, Doc Gojin turned away as if in disdain, causing Light to roll his eyes, seeing that Yuan could only smile and say, it seems like the ceremony is about to begin. He noticed the beautiful Professor Yumina sitting on stage. Oh, it's Professor Yumina, he exclaimed. Making Light beside him curious, did Professor Yumina advise Yuan Ya Light too? Before I could say anything more, the lights in the hall suddenly changed. The roof slowly opened, revealing a view of the sky above. The ceiling of the hall is opening up. What's going on? The group of people exclaimed in confusion. Suddenly a cold voice broke the silence. Everyone gather here. That authoritative voice made the entire group of students feel a terrible pressure weighing down on their shoulders, making them tremble in fear. What is this? Where does this pressure come from? Yuan thought to himself, his heart filled with confusion. However, he still gritted his teeth and raised his head to look towards where the voice came from. Up above, a giant entity appeared, and the voice continued to resound. Now the entrance ceremony for the 25th class of Union Academy officially begins. The entity was a giant eye, a high-level and mysterious creature. Time passed quickly, and Professor Yumina began to greet the group of students. Impressive, right? The principal's speech was memorable, she said with a smile. However, the group of students still seemed to have not escaped the aftershocks of that terrifying presence, so no one reacted. Yuan alone calmly took a sip of tea and nodded. That's impressive. Is that Eyeball King the principal? His words startled the whole group. They turned to ask in surprise. Yuan, did you see that eye? You dare to look up. The pressure from it makes most of us not dare to look up. It's scary. Yuan was a bit surprised because although he also felt the pressure, it wasn't as terrible as they described. At the same time, Doc Hojun stared at Yeonwon, seemingly trying to figure out why he could look straight at such a terrifying entity. That entity had used a special method to hide its true form, so how could he see it? Under her scrutiny, Yuan felt a little confused and quickly explained, it's just a feeling. It's like there's a giant eye looking down at us. Meanwhile, Professor Yumina returned to the main issue. Anyway, that's the principle. Unless you guys achieve something special or cause an incident, it's unlikely you'll have the chance to meet him again. However, it seems that Yuan will be able to meet the teacher alone, she said with an amused look in her eyes, which made Yuan feel a bit depressed. Why does it sound like the professor is cursing me? He muttered. Yumina covered her mouth and laughed. Haha, as the teacher in charge, your achievements are also my achievements from now on. You guys should do your best. Hearing that, Light was surprised and asked, so Professor Yumina will be the one in charge of us? Exactly, she replied, treating herself to a cup of tea. This information surprised Light. One of the 9 official professors of the academy is the one in charge of us, he thought to himself. After putting down her teacup, Yumina formally introduced herself. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? She is Yumina, Professor of Combat Magic, and she is assigned as the homeroom teacher of this class, grade 11. Let's work hard together for the next 5 years. Light asked in surprise. I thought that usually only assistant teachers are in charge of secondary students. Yumina nodded. That's right. However, this year you are a special batch of students, so I will take on this role. Speaking of this, she also secretly exclaimed, "It's really so special that I wonder how only people like you are chosen." Thinking of this as if remembering something, she turned to him with a serious face and warned, "Be careful of the obstruction and malice of regular students." Hearing this, Yuan was a bit surprised at first, but he quickly grasped the meaning behind the statement. The obstacles and ill will that the professor mentioned do not stop at academic competition, but also include physical violence and conflicts between students. If these issues go beyond the competitive framework protected by school regulations, even professors cannot intervene. To thrive in the race with other students, you must be strong enough to overcome all obstacles and ill will. If not, from now on, the four of you will be working in groups. You are unique, special students. Moreover, you will be teammates together to conquer the top of the tower from now until graduation. Let's stop here. The Academy has prepared a small gift for you. The rules and details will be explained after receiving the item. As soon as she finished speaking, she snapped her fingers. Immediately, a shining object appeared before the group of people, making them surprised. It's a pendant. Is this used to identify students? It looks just like a normal necklace. You can use it to identify yourself and access all school facilities. It also allows you to teleport around the Union campus. To test the teleport feature, they muttered, "Teleport spell is Professor Yumina. So beautiful." As soon as the sentence ended, all three people were thrown out. "Professor Yumina is so beautiful," Rushel shouted. Then they were teleported back to their original position, and for this spell, all three were just silent, not knowing what to say about Teacher Yumina. "Oh my god." The group sighed. "We need this identification pendant to enter the tower, so whether we like it or not, we have to keep it safe," Light said as he quickly put the pendant in his pocket. On the opposite side, pink-haired Ruchel wondered, "But why is only Yuan being held back?" "Who knows?" Light shrugged in response. Maybe he sensed that horrible entity Doc Hojin spoke his thoughts, as she said that she recalled Professor Yumina's conversation with someone on the phone right now. "No, we have prepared a tea party." Unfortunately, of all the students, he was the only one who could look the principal straight in the eye. Scene changes to principal's office. Yuan is sitting still like a sheep. "What is this? I have to meet the principal privately on the first day? What did I do wrong?" Yuan thought confusedly. Seeing the worried look on the principal's face, he spoke up. "Look at me. My true self isn't here right now." This voice came from a doll placed on the table. Hearing that, Yuan dared to look at the doll and asked principal, "No, I'm the president, just call me teacher." He reminded, "Yes, sir," Yuan hurriedly replied. Then the principal went straight to the point. "We should explain the reason for calling you here. Normally, I do not interfere with the development of students, whether strong or weak. Whether they survive or die in the tower, I do not care. My only goal is to witness with my own eyes the person who climbed to the top of the tower. Everything else is meaningless." Hearing this declaration, Yuan became silent. "Actually, the tower is my ancestors' legacy. The Ban clan was destined to reclaim it. With all my strength and glory, I am willing to risk my life to reclaim the entire tower." But facing the principal, what does the tower mean to the other students? Why do they have to come to this dimension to conquer it? Unable to contain his curiosity, Yuan decided to speak up and ask, "Sir, what is this tower actually?" Hearing the question, the principal was silent for a few seconds, seemingly surprised by his student's curiosity. Then he slowly replied, "The tower is the path to the gods. It is also a great challenge. God, is it the god that everyone always talks about? This is getting more and more complicated," Yuan muttered to himself, confused about what to think. Meanwhile, the principal continued normally, "I will not intervene when a student is in trouble. But this time, I will make an exception because I see great potential in you. The greatest potential I have ever seen. I will arrange to help you prepare for your journey to conquer the tower." As soon as he finished speaking, the little doll's arm on the table gently lifted up. A strange light emitted from Yuan's identity necklace. "What is this?" Yuan exclaimed in surprise. The headmaster quickly explained, "I have extended your exploration privileges outside the academy. You are now free to move to any dungeon. Use your free time to practice your skills before you start conquering the tower." Outside the academy, Yuan asked again, still full of doubt. "That's right now. Go, Yuan, remember to improve your skills before climbing the tower. If you perform well, I will unlock the next privilege for you," he said, as he waved his hand, and immediately a portal appeared under Yuan's feet, pulling him inside. "Next, right?" Yuan exclaimed in surprise. "That's right, it's the right to explore the independent tower. I look forward to our next meeting." As soon as he finished speaking, Yuan was pushed out of the room and fell straight into the arms of teacher Yumina, who was waiting behind. "Did the meeting with the principal go well?" Yumina asked with a bright smile. Yuan looked up, but his view was blocked by two giant hills. Embarrassed, he quickly stepped back and stood up. "The principal usually chases away guests like that. Isn't it strange?" Yumina shrugged and smiled while Yuan didn't dare to look straight at her. "Yes," he replied shyly. "He was really looking forward to meeting you from the beginning, Yuan." After calming down, Yuan recounted the conversation with the principal and his promises, which left Yumina in shock. "Oh my god, allowing students to leave the academy. This is a huge privilege," Yumina exclaimed. "Is it that big teacher said I need to quickly improve my lacking skills?" Yuan asked again, still full of questions. "It's super big. You can freely explore the dungeon outside the tower. even travel to other cities. This means you will have more experience and preparation than others. No other student has ever had this privilege. Yuma explained, making Yu realize how much favor he was being given. Haha. So that's it. I thought he thought I was weak, so I had to go to extra classes. Thank God, Yuan chuckled. Yumina continued with a slightly jealous voice. You're so lucky, Yuan. So jealous. Usually us teachers are too busy to go out at this time. Really? Yuan asked back. Yes, since Union is an academy where everything is student-centered, it's quite inconvenient for us teachers with this privilege. You can explore dungeons, travel around cities, and shop, and you can also eat snacks as much as you want. So jealous, the more she spoke, her face became closer to Yuan with a very strange look, making this young man sweat profusely. Yumina finally revealed her true purpose. There is a beautiful city, you should go there. Its name is Ronica, the Spring Temple. There is really, without waiting for the teacher to finish speaking, he quickly interrupted, afraid that she would eat him. Professor, let me buy you a gift. Time flies. The scene changes to a location outside the academy. At this time, Yuan was on his way to complete the mission that Yumina assigned him. Remember what she told you. Honeymoon wine brewed by monks, famous for its sweet aroma, thick bubbles, and seductive aftertaste. Buy me 1, no 2 bottles. The wine-loving teacher said, her eyes sparkling like headlights as she entrusted this important task to the new student. Yuan could only sigh inwardly. A professor sent a student to buy wine. This world is full of surprises. But luckily, I already have an inventory, he said as he opened his inventory and checked with a satisfied look. Then he suddenly discovered an item inside. Oh, this is what Grandpa gave me before I went to school. Yuan looked intently at the bag of items prepared by his grandfather, rarity unknown. Time goes back to the day before school started when Yuan was about to leave. Grandpa came to him with his bag. Are you ready, Yuan? I'm fine. Did you sleep well? Yuan replied, hearing his grandson say that. The old man put the bag on the ground, making a heavy sound. Open it and take as much as you want. What is it? Yuan asked curiously. Just open it and you'll see. Grandpa smiled meaningfully. As soon as he opened the bag, a golden light flashed, almost blinding. Yuan. Wow. It's all dragon gold. Can I really take it? Yuan asked in surprise. Ha ha. It's okay. This is the inheritance our ancestors left for finding the Tower of Babel. It's yours now. Use it as you wish, Grandpa said happily. Yuan was moved to tears. Thank you, Grandpa. They'll be a big help, but they're a bit hard to carry. He stammered. Why is it hard? The old man asked again. They look heavy already. Yuan complained. This guy. The old man yelled angrily. Back to the present. After opening the inventory, Yuan threw all his personal belongings into his inventory. Now that I have the inventory, it's convenient. Grandpa said gold is valuable everywhere, so I'll take a few bars. Okay, ready, time to enter the new world, Yuan said, and looked towards the modern city in front of him. Entering the city, he was amazed at the level of development here. Wow, even though it's a different space, the urban landscape is still quite similar, huh? While thinking, Yuan suddenly saw a few people riding flying cars in the sky and immediately fell silent. Oh no, very different. What is it? It's flying. How is that possible? He thought excitedly, but his strange appearance attracted the attention of several security guards. Hey, you there. Where did you come from? Yu turned around but didn't have time to explain. The 2 staff members recognized his uniform and immediately changed their attitude. Oh my God. You are a student of Union Academy. Hello. We are the Western Border Guards of Ronica City. They stood solemnly. Yuan felt embarrassed by their enthusiasm, just because he was a Union student. He scratched his head and said, Hello, I am Ban Yuan, a freshman of Union Academy. Then both of them turned with curious looks on their faces. But how did you get here? Ban Yuan, did you get permission from the principal? Yes, he said, I can freely explore. Yuan nodded in response. I see, thanks to the principal and the teachers. Our city is as peaceful as it is now. We will always be grateful to them. The 2 laughed, causing Yuan to start to reevaluate the strength of this academy. If you have any questions, just ask us. For Yuan, a guy who knows nothing, how can he miss this opportunity? He immediately pointed at the car flying in the sky and asked, Then I want to buy that. How much is it worth? Time flies. Now our Yuan is holding the brand new flying car in his hands, flying all over the lawn. Oh my God, this is amazing, Yuan shouted. Turned back an hour ago, hearing Yuan's question. The 2 guards also sweated a bit and reminded him, if it's that, then you're talking about the flying motorcycle. The basic model is already 250,000. Ronya. Quite expensive. Hearing that, Yuan's face also became innocent, as he asked back, how much is 250,000 vonya? So it's called a flying motorcycle. Speaking of this, he also conveniently took out a dragon gold bar from his inventory and asked, Can I exchange this for a purchase? Seeing the guy suddenly pull out such a precious thing, the guard's eyes widened like a cow's. Here. This is gold. Where did you get such a big gold bar? Is this real? Oh, my grandfather gave it to me, Yuan said with a smile. Back to reality. At this point, he himself was a bit surprised in his heart. A gold bar is already worth 75 million. Ronya. I also have to thank my grandfather for forcing me to take it all the way. Gold can be used anywhere, you idiot. Remember to take it with you? The old man shouted angrily. But it's heavy and troublesome, Yuan complained. It's true that young people have too much money, but it's also miserable. On this side, as if feeling every gust of wind blowing straight at him, the little snake Y also appeared, making Yuan excitedly show off to his pet. Oh, why? What do you think it's like? The concept of love and demons gave life to this flying motorcycle. Its name is Lilith. So let's live in harmony. From now on, Lilith was created by Ban Yuan, by giving it the concept of demons and ghosts, turning it into a living being with a will like Y. Turning towards Y, hearing its master say that the little snake also stuck out its tongue, not knowing whether it was upset or happy. Regardless of this attitude, Yuan still hasn't forgotten the duty that Professor Yumina gave him. All right, I bought wine for Professor Yumina and created a little brother for Y. I've done everything that needs to be done. Now let's go back to school, Yuan said with a smile. But after a while, he felt uncomfortable and lay down on the table. His mind was spinning as if he had cerebral anemia. Oh my God, my head. The male lead groaned, and at this moment, Light also came over, annoyedly placed a glass of water in front of him and shook his head. I'm so disappointed in you, Yuan. I can't believe you left without saying a word right after the meeting. When you came back, you were drunk as a rag doll. Light looked at Yuan with a judgmental gaze, making him stutter. Sorry, Professor Yumina forced me, so I couldn't refuse. Speaking of this, Yuan suddenly remembered the image of the professor grabbing his collar tightly, refusing to let him run back. Drink up, drink up, drink up, until his face was as red as the sunset. This is the first time I've ever drunk alcohol in my life, Yuan said as he quickly lifted the glass of water and poured it down his throat. Meanwhile, Doc Hojin coldly noticed the flower-shaped badge on Yuan's chest and asked, So this pin is in exchange for the class representative position after drinking with the professor. Yuan leaned back and replied, Class representative. If you mean class president, then yes. At this moment, Doc Hojun started both of them when she announced, If I had to choose one person to represent the four of us, it would have to be me, because I'm the strongest one here. Do you agree too? She stared at Yuan. Light immediately objected. That's a bit strange, Doc Hojun. Even though we are equal teammates, I have to make this clear. Your arrogant attitude is not beneficial to our future as a tower climber. And I also do not agree that you are the strongest. Light shouted, pointing straight at her face. Doc Hojun just laughed scornfully and shook his head. Haha. Did you just say we are equal? That's ridiculous. Yesterday you asked the professor if you could climb the tower alone. Where's the equality? She shrugged, making Light blush in embarrassment. That Light stuttered, unable to form words. Yuan and Ruchel looked at him with doubtful eyes. Oh, right. You said that Light was embarrassed. No. I just asked out of curiosity. It's not that I don't want to be with everyone. Meanwhile, Yuan lay on the table thinking, Really, I thought I could avoid discrimination from the beginning of the class. So I was going to suggest everyone to make a plan together, but our group is already in disarray. I wasn't interested in being class president either, but now I understand why the professor chose me. Light lacks soft skills but has high self-esteem. Doc Hojun is domineering even though she is strong. She will make others dissatisfied. Ruchel is too passive to be fit to lead. Ha ha ha, what a special group of students. Thinking. So Yuan spoke up. Wait a minute, everyone calm down and listen to me. The captain doesn't have to be the strongest. No, he shouldn't be the strongest. He suggested. Doc Hojun squinted and asked why. Because if the strongest person is the class monitor, they will decide everything by themselves. While the class monitor needs to unite the whole class, can't do that right. The class monitor must be the one to come up with a fair solution for all. So I think an easygoing person like me should be the class president. Easygoing, you, Doc Hojun almost burst out laughing. Okay, the professor also has the right to appoint the class monitor. So now I'll listen to whatever you say. Doc Hojun smiled and said, seeing that the most dangerous person had accepted Yuan, breathed a sigh of relief. The tension in his heart gradually disappeared. Thank you. Doc Hojun continued in a serious yet sincere tone. From the beginning, the only person I truly wanted to keep here was you. Well, even though I don't like it very much, in order to get what I want, I have to accept all these unnecessary things. As she spoke, she glanced at Light and Ruchel. Her eyes were cold and meaningful. We'll see you later. After saying that, the white-haired girl coldly left, leaving behind was Light, who was so angry that his whole body was shaking. What is it unnecessary? Light gritted his teeth, his tone filled with anger. Seeing that Yuan quickly reassured him, Calm down. Light. After temporarily calming down, Yuan felt exhausted. Oh my God, this morning really feels like I'm on a battlefield, not a school. It's hard to deal with self-esteem. Take it easy, Yuan. The male lead told himself to try to calm down. But before she could rest for a few seconds, Ruchel stood up and said excitedly, Hey Yuan, didn't you bring that cute snake from before? I want to try touching it. The girl's eyes lit up with curiosity. Oh my God, what a place full of mines. Yuan sighed inwardly. It feels like I'm surrounded by unexpected situations. The scene changes to a fighting arena erector, who has lava blood, suddenly stands up and shouts, Professor, I really want to know how good the people who passed the special exam are. His scream made everyone turn around. Looking at Yuan's group, eyes full of interest and appreciation, the referee wearing a prisoner's uniform nodded and said, "We'll start our first lesson with a match. What do you think?" Hearing this, the first graders immediately excitedly competed to join in. "Professor, let me fight them." "No, let me step back. Let me go first. Come here. Will you take that pin down or not?" The provocative and frustrating words that rang out made both Yuan and Light fall silent. Light looked at Yuan worriedly. "So Union Academy's classes are based on the students' abilities. As expected of Class 1, a special class. They seem to hate our class." 11 a lot. Yuan replied awkwardly. "Well, it could also be because the thing I'm wearing is a bit provocative." While the crowd was still arguing, a rector stared at Yuan's badge, anger rising in his heart. "That weakling dares to wear the pin given to him by the flower goddess Professor Yumina and dares to wear it in front of me. Unacceptable." The more a rector thought about it, the more he couldn't help but scream. "Professor, let me see for myself how strong that guy is. Please let me fight him." The professor agreed immediately. "Okay, step up, Yuan, you'll fight a rector." Yuan felt like he was being pushed into a dilemma, but had no other choice. Meanwhile, Professor Yumina silently observes Yuan's first class. After witnessing this was a joint class between grade 1 and grade 11, she began to feel something was wrong. What is this? Why are they putting our class together with special class students on the first day of class? And it's a comprehensive practical class on the first period. How can special students recruited directly from secondary space compete with advanced students? They must have thought so to arrange the class schedule like this. I don't know who did this, but I can feel their malice. Yumina thought to herself, worried for her student. Back to Yuan. He was not a fool to rush into a fight with the huge lava man standing opposite him, so he quickly raised his hand to refuse. "Sorry, professor, but my fighting skills are still very weak. I don't think I'll learn anything from this match." The professor in prison clothes immediately replied calmly, "Huh, really? Then deduct 3 points." This sentence made Yuan stunned, not understanding what was happening. "Step up, Yuan. Stop making excuses," the professor said, as he adjusted his glasses with an arrogant look. At this moment, Yuan suddenly realized that it seems like this guy is deliberately targeting me. Why is that? Why does the professor want to force me onto the field? Does he want to humiliate me in front of everyone? The more he thought about it, the darker his face became. I'm not making excuses. It's true that I was recruited directly because of my special abilities, not my fighting skills. If the professor is curious about the ability of direct admission students, please find another way to evaluate instead of forcing us to fight. Yuan argued convincingly. However, the professor in prison clothes saw Yuan continuously refusing, so he gritted his teeth and shouted loudly, "Are you teaching a professor how to work?" Hearing that Yuan no longer saved face for him, and immediately retorted, "Whether you're a professor or a student, if you don't know something, you have to learn it. Besides, aren't you the class representative?" "Deduct 5 more points," the professor yelled, making Yuan sigh. "Ha ha ha, is this how you plan to play?" Yuan thought to himself and quickly made a suggestion. "How about this? I'll use this week to prepare and fight next week. Just give me a week. I'll go into the tower once, and when I get out, my preparations will be almost complete." Yuan's confident declaration made the atmosphere in the classroom suddenly freeze. A few eyes turned to him as if he were a madman. What did he just say? Next week's match, get ready? What is he talking about? Obviously, his ability is at rock bottom. How could he fight against the special class in just 1 week? As for the professor in prison clothes, he was so angry that he bit his lip. "Now you still ignore me and arrange your own schedule? Okay, just do as you wish." Yuan saw him gritting his teeth and also looked down on him with disdain. "So what if I ignore you? You're not an official professor either." He muttered something that made Light standing behind him startled. After suppressing his anger, the professor announced Ban Yupin and a rector will officially face off next Tuesday. The match will be public, and the whole academy will be able to watch it live. Everyone remember to watch. He smirked as expecting Yuan to be humiliated next week. "So, not only do you want to humiliate me, but you also want to do it big." Yuan frowned and thought, before the professor turned to give instructions and ban Yuan. "Since you asked to prepare, remember to show your ability." "Well, if you can't do it, then," Yuan interrupted dejectedly. "Sure, hey, a rector, right? We have the official match next week." "I'm so excited," he said with a smile. A rector immediately spat at him with contempt. "Humph, weakling." Yunwan was also embarrassed. "I don't know why I'm acting happy with this lava man. I didn't expect him to answer politely either, because what I wanted to probe wasn't his attitude." Erector's stats were clearly visible in Yuan's eyes. Erector's stats were BBC Life, 250, Body, 300, Magic, 120. Looking at these numbers, Yuan feels even more that his decision to postpone the match next week was absolutely correct. As expected of a special class student, his vitality and physical strength are amazing. His vitality is 5 times that of mine. His physical strength is 10 times that of mine. But even so, compared to them, he is nothing, Yuan thought as he glanced at Light and Ruchel. If I want to climb the tower with them, I have to surpass a rector's level. Yuan thought to himself, then laughed and said, "Haha, you two look gloomy. Are you worried about me?" Ignoring Yuan's words, Doc Hojun coldly started to warm up behind. "What no one dares to step up, unlike the class president, fighting is my forte. Aren't you guys curious about the skills of special direct admission students? Does anyone dare to come up here? If it's a one-on-one fight, I'm always ready." Doc Hojun said confidently. Her stats had even surpassed the hexagonal frame. Turned back to the group of extras. After hearing Doc Hojun's provocation, the whole group froze for a few seconds. Even the prison professor was speechless with confusion. The reason was easy to understand. Even a weakling like Yuan could recognize Doc Hojun's terrifying strength. It was quiet, but it was understandable. Even my one-eyed friend would have a hard time reading Doc Hojun's strength. There was no way the first graders couldn't feel her overwhelming aura, Yuan thought to herself. Back to Doc Hojun. After seeing no one dared to stand up, she said boredly, "What's wrong? If you lack confidence, then let me appoint." She pointed straight at Erector. "You're not the type of person who only chooses weak people to beat up, right? Come here, I'll beat you to a pulp." Opposite Erector was startled. Perhaps he also realized that Doc Hojun's strength far surpassed his. Erector must be panicking. His original target was me. But now he was challenged by an unexpected person. Everyone here can feel it. If he accepted Doc Hojun's challenge just to save face, he would be dead. He will be seriously injured and will not recover for a week. Although this does not affect me, it should not be like this. Thinking of this, Yuan decided to speak up. "Wait, Doc Hojun. Sorry, but Erector will be having a match with me next week. If you want to fight him, you will have to wait your turn." Doc Hojun turned to look at Yuan and asked again, "Are you sure?" "Of course. Thank you for worrying about me. But this time, I will use my strength to prove myself worthy," Yuan confidently declared. If he wanted to increase the difficulty of the test, Doc Hojun had no reason to stop him. "Ho ho. I thought you were just a slippery person. Who would have thought you had some manly temperament too? Okay, I'll let you have it your way. So besides Erector, is there anyone else who dares to step up?" she asked again, but the crowd remained silent. No one dared to face Doc Hojun directly. "Is there no one?" the white-haired girl asked again. After seeing the students still silent, Doc Hojun sighed in disappointment. "You were barking loudly just now, but now you've met a real strong person and are shrinking like a turtle." Hearing her say that, the first graders gritted their teeth, but no matter how angry they were, they didn't dare to stand up, until a blonde guy spoke up. "Who are you calling a turtle? It is true that weak and stupid people often gather in groups, pretending to protect his fellow man by barking loudly. Is this a joke?" When he heard someone daring to challenge Doc Hojun verbally, Yuan immediately paid attention to him. "What is this?" Even though this guy is in the same special class, his level seems to be much superior. Yuan frowned in thought. In his eyes, this blonde man seemed to be emitting an unusual aura that made the people around him afraid to come near. Besides noticing Yuan's doubtful expression, Light spoke up to explain, "That's Optima, the ruler of the Centis Space Dynasty." "Huh, Centis Optima, what is that?" Yuan asked confusedly. His naive question surprised Light. "You don't know Yuan. Besides Union, there are 10 other high-level dimensions. Optima comes from the ruling family of Centos, one of those space dynasties." After hearing this, Yuan couldn't help but sweat. So he is a descendant of one of the most powerful families in these space dynasties. At this moment, under the eyes of the crowd, Optima began to walk down the field. "Professor," he coldly ordered. The professor immediately understood and quickly performed a certain action. "Ah, okay," he said, as he hurriedly took out an electronic device that made Yuan curious. "What is that?" "Probably a recording device. They're probably going to make a public video." Light speculated. "What happens after they're done?" Yuan asked curiously. "They said they'll share everything on the internet, but I'm not sure what it is." Light shook his head. It seemed like he came from a dimension lacking modern technology, so he didn't understand it very well. However, with his advanced civilization, Yuan immediately grasped the professor's intentions. "So that's how it is here too." Seeing Yuan seemed to understand, Light turned to ask Yuan, "Do you know what the internet is?" while connecting to UnionNet. Yuan explained, "It's simply an internal network set up by companies or educational institutions to exchange information." After hearing that, Light was even more surprised. "Your dimension is so low that you don't know about Union. How do you know this?" "In my dimension, this is the general trend." "But where is this school's internet?" Yuan said while continuously swiping his phone. Ruchel had to run back to show him here. "There's a live broadcast channel of our class right now. Thanks, Ruchel. You're really good at finding it." Yuan quickly clicked on the live stream channel, and immediately images of Doc Hojun and Optima appeared on the screen. "What is this? This is live broadcast. The professor is trying to humiliate us. But maybe things won't go the way he wants," Yuan muttered. On the field, both Doc Hojun and Optima exuded a fierce aura. After looking at each other for a while, Optima said, "Let's strike." Doc Hojun smiled confidently. "If you're inferior, I'll let you go first," she said, as she raised her hand forward to provoke. "Bad. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Kneel down," Optima said, as he extended his hand forward, at the same time activating some kind of ability aimed straight at Doc Hojun. From everyone's perspective, Optima's palm can be seen emitting a mysterious wave. When Optima's power spreads to the Yuan group, he immediately felt a terrible pressure pressing down on his body. "What is this? It's completely different from the language power I possess. Like water flows from high to low, like we cannot live without air. This is a natural law. Everything in this space is forcing me to kneel before him as if it were a given. Could it be that he is distorting the laws of nature?" Yuan speculated. Light, who was standing next to him, turned to Yuan and asked, "Did you just discover the principle of that ability?" Yuan replied, but before he could explain, Ruchel was trembling and clinging to him. eyes full of fear looking forward. Meanwhile, when Optima's ability affected Doc Hojun, it was like a grasshopper kicking a car. It didn't produce any effect. From the palm of her hand, a blue-black energy began to flow. With just a wave of her hand, she easily erased that pressure, made the whole group open their eyes and mouths wide open. Even Yuan couldn't believe his eyes impossible. He only added pressure and suppressed the opponent's power. Yuan thought to himself. Optima with blonde hair looked at Doc Hojun breaking his move. His eyes flashed with interest. Ha ha, you have some skill, huh? Doc Hojun shook his head in a mocking tone. Your ability is as ridiculous as the horns on your head. If that's all you're capable of, then it's disappointing. Not at all. Optima replied, waving his hand as if he wanted to use a move. But that move couldn't escape Doc Hojun's eyes. Immediately, she put force into her legs and rushed forward, and kicked him straight in the stomach, interrupting Optima's attack. You think I'll stand still and let you hit me a second time? A stronger attack at close range, Doc Hojun mocked. Optima defends with an energy shield. But having to defend hurt his pride. Tisk, I didn't expect to have to use both hands for a match like this, he said, annoyed. You was originally stupid and had underdeveloped limbs. Doc Hojun spoke suddenly right next to his ear, making Optima startled and swing his arm to hit back arrogant. He shouted, not realizing he was the most arrogant one. Doc Hojun dodged Optima's attack. She used her left hand to knock his arm aside, while her right hand gripped the collar. She delivered a knee straight to Optima's chin. Your movements are really clumsy. Don't tell me you still need someone to feed you. Doc Hojun sneered, but her attack was blocked by Optima with another layer of shield. However, being overwhelmed made Optima angry. This bastard! He gritted his teeth, gathering strength into his fist, and threw a super-fast punch, but Hojun jumped to the side and dodged it easily. Light saw Doc Hojun playing with Optima like a cat playing with a mouse, and was bewildered. It's hard to believe that Optima, the ruler of Sentis, is being overwhelmed by Doc Hojun, seeing that Yuan stood still and watched the two of them also expressing his guess. It seems that Optima is used to defeating his opponents by suppressing their movements, like distorting the laws of nature. However, that method doesn't seem to work on Doc Hojun, and this is what pushed him into his current situation. Under the eyes of the crowd, the blonde boy was beaten to a pulp by Hojun without a chance to fight back. Each of her attacks is precise and powerful, from consecutive punches to the face to high kicks, directly to the chin. If it weren't for the energy shield, he would have fallen long ago. Back to Yuan, our commentator continued his analysis. Although he possesses superior strength and physique, but it's obvious that he doesn't train often. This comment made Light surprised by Yuan's observation ability. Can he realize that Doc Hojun can confront Optima, and Yuan can see through both of their abilities? Obviously, they are all specially selected people from secondary space. But what is going on? Back to the battle. Optima now didn't even have a chance to counterattack. Hojun's punches kept coming at a terrifying speed. How dare you be rude to me, the idiot exclaimed, completely unaware of the situation. Doc Hojun's fist immediately hit him straight in the face, making the energy shield unable to block it. Did you come here just to brag? Or is your tongue too long and you want me to cut it? Doc Hojun said coldly. As for Optima, the anger of being constantly overwhelmed drove him crazy. A diamond-shaped symbol appeared above his head, arranged in a circle. Along with that, a terrifying power erupted. He slammed his hands on the ground, causing the arena floor to crack into many pieces. I will never forgive you. If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Optima screamed like a madman. Doc Hojun saw Optima screaming like that and just gently replied, death is not something a child like him can talk about easily. She began to gather magic power around her arm, ready to rush into the row to coax the blonde guy a lesson. Optima is no less aggressive. He yelled die and pushed his hand forward. Just as the two opponents were about to clash, Professor Yumina's voice rang out enough. Just one clap of her hand made all the actions of the two people stop. The stadium was now filled with flowers, leaving both Doc Hojun and Optima stunned. Yumina said softly, our academy does not encourage students to fight to the death. Save that power for climbing the tower, you two understand. Then she snapped her fingers. Dissolving her skill caused the flower garden to slowly disappear. On the stands, Yuan thought, what is this illusion? But I can still smell the strong scent of flowers. Towards Optima when he saw Yumina appear. He knew that he could not continue fighting and clicked his tongue, turned around and left, not knowing that the professor's intervention had saved his life. Otherwise, Doc Hojun would have taught him what it meant to smell the earth soon. Turning towards Doc Hojun, ignoring the attitude of that useless guy, she turned to Yumina and said, you're really strong. In response to this, the female professor just smiled. Doc Hojun saw that and sighed. And back to her place. Yeah, welcome back, Yuan said. Hearing his words, the white-haired girl also turned to ask Yuan's opinion. What do you think? Great. Just watching it is interesting enough. However, before our main character could finish his sentence, Rushel suddenly rushed forward and tightly grabbed his back from behind. This action made the whole group curious. Rushel, what's wrong? Are you still afraid of Doc Hojun? He frowned and asked when he saw his friend shaking uncontrollably. Haha, so cute. It's okay. Come here, haha. Yuan still smiled, while Ruchel still firmly clung to his back and refused to let go. On the other side, Yumina's annoyed voice rang out, attracting everyone's attention. You're going to be punished, Professor Farron. It's only the first day of class, and you're already allowing sparring. Not only are you allowing sparring, but you're also turning a blind eye when things go too far. You know this is a serious mistake, right? I'm sorry, the professor in prison stammered. This can't be solved by just apologizing, so you better prepare yourself mentally. Yumina replied arrogantly. Then she also walked towards Yuan. Besides, the most important thing about being class president is dignity. Yuan, why are you wearing your pin backwards like this? As she spoke, the beautiful teacher gently used her hand to adjust the words written on the male lead's chest in an extremely intimate manner, make the students behind go crazy with admiration. However, as if not noticing that gaze, Yumina, after adjusting Yuan's badge, immediately left. Well then I'll go. Have a good day. Looking at her back, Yuan could only smile shyly. Ah. Our professor came here to stop this match, but instead it increased the dissatisfaction. After saying that, even without looking back, Yuan could feel countless malicious gazes from the first graders directed at her. Why is it only that weakling? I won't forgive him, someone said through gritted teeth. Time quickly passed. News of the match between Dok Ho-jun and Optima spread throughout the freshmen. Hey, did you hear that the new girl from the secondary dimension is on par with Optima? Not equal but overwhelming, right? Secondary space. Is that too much? What the hell is going on? Curious comments started to appear, and of course our main character Yuan could see them too. However, he wasn't happy at all about becoming famous. It seems like the whole world is talking about us, Yuan said worriedly. On the opposite side, Light's head started to smoke as he couldn't understand these high-tech devices. Turned to Dok Ho-jun. After reading the comments, her special eyes also slightly narrowed. That's strange, is that guy the #1 expectation? No way. There was at least one person in that class who was much stronger than him. Dok Ho-jun remembered the sight of a girl, dressed like a wizard, sitting alone in a corner of the classroom. Before she turned to ask the male lead the question, I thought you noticed too. Yuan just shrugged in response with a small smile. Ha ha ha, because I was too focused on your match. Meanwhile, Lai was lying on the table, seemingly tired. But Yuan, they mentioned your name all over the community site, right? What does Master Negotiator mean? Light asked. Yuan sighed and explained. They didn't dare to touch the challenger with the #1 expectation. So they turned to criticizing me, Dok Ho-jun interjected. That's not the only topic of discussion, right? Light looked to the side and suddenly asked. That reminds me, do we usually sit this far apart? He exclaimed in surprise when he realized Rushel was sitting at another table. Whole body trembling, meal atmosphere seemed to sink. It seems like Rushel sensed something from Dok Ho-jun, or was too scared to come near. I wonder what it was like when they were in the same room. Maybe he's still nervous from last time. Or should I help her feel more comfortable? People always need a little sweetness. Yuan thought to himself and quickly took out a jar of jam from his luggage. This is a level created from my synthesis ability, extracted from tens of thousands of special effect condensed fruits. Although light, it helps promote the overall development of the stats. Look at this. Yuan spoke up to attract everyone's attention. This is the two people curiously looked at the jar. Yuan chuckled. Ha ha ha, surprised. Right, here's your bread, he said as he opened the jar lid. As soon as the sweet scent spreads, Ruchel suddenly turned around, eyes wide open, looking at them. Yuan spread jam on the bread and pushed the plate towards Light and Dok Ho-jun. Here, try this. Although a bit skeptical at first, they both tried it. At the first bite, they felt an explosion of taste so delicious. This is, both of them said in amazement. Yuan laughed with satisfaction. Haha, it's edible, right? Light stuttered. Okay, Yuan, this is not just a little delicious. It's Dok Ho-jun nodded. I've tried all kinds of delicious food in Central Plains, but this is really on another level. Yuan was a little embarrassed by their reaction, then turned to invite Ruchel, come here and eat together. The pink-haired girl was so hungry that she drooled and swallowed her saliva and quickly pulled the chair closer. Can you make me one? She mumbled. No big deal, Yuan replied. When tasted, Ruchel is melting in flavor. The taste comes from fruit, the best taste of fruit in the world, she said, with satisfaction. Light asked Yuan, did you create it from your ability? Dok Ho-jun craved, can I have more? Yuan laughed happily. Of course, just eat as much as you want. Dok Ho-jun licked his fingertips, feeling like he was eating something very precious. Yuan replied. Not really, it's not expensive. We're friends, so we should share. Consider it a reward for your kindness before. Dok Ho-jun chuckled. Even so, it's a bit much. Okay, I've decided to repay you for your elixir. I will personally teach you martial arts, Dok Ho-jun said while pressing his face close to the male lead's, making him shy. After the meal, Dok Ho-jun led Yuan to an ancient Oriental-style house. I just need enough space to move around. I didn't expect there to be such a peaceful place like this, she said, while eagerly looking around at everything. Meanwhile, our main character quickly realized why the gym was decorated like that. This room reflects your psychological environment, right? That's Union's class, he exclaimed and turned to ask. But we just finished eating and left right away. What are you trying to teach me? Not answering the question, Dok Ho-jun picked up a wooden sword and muttered, This is just right. Don't move around, she said while waving the sword, making Yuan a little scared. Let's start with this first. With that, she got into a thrusting stance, holding the sword across her chest, her right hand gripping the hilt while her left hand gently placed it on the base. Then Dok Ho-jun used the force from her left hand to push the sword towards Yuan. When the sword was about to touch his face, she stopped, creating a gust of wind pressure that hit Yuan straight in the face. This is a thrusting motion. Doc Hojun briefly explains a decisive movement without hesitation. A human strike, but with a magical feel. In that brief moment, Yuan discovered a new concept, which is piercing. Penetrate, but why penetrate? She was just showing off her swordsmanship. Yuan thought confusedly, his face blank. Doc Hojun called out, "Hey, Yuan, can you hear me?" Yuan startled awake. Sorry. Then focus, and look closely. The stabbing motion doesn't come in just one form. You can do it with anything. I just showed you the basic and core meaning of the stabbing motion. How many times to stab, where to stab, from what target to aim at, and with what momentum to stab. As Doc Hojun spoke, he performed the finishing moves with a straight jab towards Yuan. She paused and continued explaining. Although there are countless applications, but the basic core remains unchanged. Don't forget that. Even though he knew Doc Hojun wouldn't hurt him, Yuan still felt a little startled every time he saw the sword tip flying towards him. Doc Hojun's basic core has refined a concept to the extreme. Compared to combining multiple concepts, this feels much more powerful. Maybe that's why she mastered the stabbing technique. After teaching, Doc Hojun gave the sword to Yuan and asked, "Do you want to try?" "Oh yeah," Yuan replied. "Roll up your sleeves a little and add, I'm a little clumsy. Please forgive me." Doc Hojun laughed. "Haha. If you had done it perfectly from the start, all my years of practice would have been for nothing." As soon as he finished speaking, a strong gust of wind was created by Yuan's stabbing motion. A sharp strike made her face turn surprised. What the hell could he grasp the concept after just one observation, she thought in confusion. As for Yuan, despite launching a rather quality attack, but his face still wasn't very satisfied. "Not good, not right," Yuan muttered and reminded himself to focus. "Come on, I can't take the position perfectly. Up until now, I've been focusing on combining concepts together. I used to think that they could only become stronger through combination, or complementing each other. But that's not all. My strength can be pushed to new heights by honing what I already have. Think about it. There are many Chinese characters that mean stab. Why choose the word pierce? For her, stabbing means penetrating the target because it is a fatal blow." Thinking up to here, Yuan seemed to have realized something. He focused all his mental strength and launched a powerful stab. The attack was so fast that it broke the sound barrier, creating a huge explosion in the air. Immediately after the hit, Yuan himself felt a strong reaction that made him sit down on the ground from exhaustion. Doc Hojun, who was observing Yuan practicing too, hastily stopped him. "Stop it. You don't need to push yourself too hard from the start. If you remember what you saw earlier, try applying it in a larger space and use it to deal with the opponent you want to deal with." "I know," Yuan replied, panting from exhaustion. At that moment, as if to celebrate Yuan's mastery of a new technique, countless notifications appeared around him. "You have mastered and experienced the concept of cross-dimensionality. You have comprehended and experienced the concept of martial arts." Looking at these notifications, Yuan couldn't help but laugh secretly in his heart. "Haha. I just swung my sword a few times, and my stats have already increased." Suddenly, a special announcement caught his attention. Additional ability update successfully observed and understood the concept of depth shift of the one-eyed man to 110 martial arts, 36 swordsmanship, 20 piercing, 16. Looking at these numbers, Yuan felt panic. My stats really skyrocketed. I just comprehended the concept of piercing, and it's already at 16 points. As for swordsmanship, no matter how many goblins I kill, it won't increase. But now it has jumped to 20. My overall fighting technique has doubled. Does this make sense? The more Yuan thought, the more confused he felt. Meanwhile, Doc Hojun also looked at him with a surprised look. "I didn't expect that I would be the one to suffer. Who would have thought that you could break free from the form of the weapon and grasp the essence of the technique from the very beginning?" Doc Hojun said in a slightly annoyed tone when he saw Yuan achieve such a quick accomplishment. "No, I just watched and imitated you." Yuan scratched his head and replied. His words only made Doc Hojun more annoyed. "Really, if you could imitate and understand just by watching, who would bother practicing anymore?" Doc Hojun shouted. Seeing her angry, Yuan quickly praised. "That might be true. But what if it's because you're a good teacher? I'm not exaggerating. From the first time I saw your movements, I felt the deep meaning of movement. I was truly amazed that a person could reach this level, and I was so completely captivated by that depth that I lost all sense of time." Hearing Yuan say that, Doc Hojun's face gradually turned red. "Hey, this person is really... We haven't known each other for long, but he can easily say such words." She sighed in her heart and turned to leave. Back to Yuan, he didn't forget to repay Doc Hojun for her help. "Anyway, today's lesson was really useful. From now on, let me take care of the payment for you." Doc Hojun said. "That's still far from what I just taught," he continued in a complaining voice. "What really? So, what should I do now?" Yuan asked in panic. In response to this statement, Doc Hojun suddenly smiled, something Yuan had never seen before. "Haha. It's okay. I will pay back many times the damages I suffered today in the future. You just wait. It's time for class now. Let's go out," Doc Hojun said happily. "Ah, yeah, that's right," Yuan replied innocently, and waited until Doc Hojun teleported away. When Yuan was alone, he muttered something that only he could hear. I didn't expect him to have such an expression. Scene changes to a hallway inside Union Academy. At this moment, Light and Ruchel were walking carefree in the hallway. However, a group of students from a certain class seemed to recognize Ruchel's identity, so he immediately raised his hand to block her way. "Hey, little sister, where are you from?" A sudden question rang out that made Ruchel's face a bit stunned. Behind Light saw that this group of people were going to make things difficult for Ruchel, so he immediately rushed forward to block the pink-haired girl. This action made the blue-haired guy raise his eyebrows and turn to look at him. "What is this?" he asked, annoyed. Light coldly replied, "He is my classmate. What do you want?" And for some reason, the blue-haired guy started to get angry after hearing that. "Huh, what kind of lowly insect dares to interfere like this? Go away," he shouted. At the same time, Yuan and Doc Hojun also teleported to this place. "Phew, I hope I'm not late." Yuan spoke up, attract the attention of a group of people. "Just in time to start," Doc Hojun added. Meanwhile, Yuan noticed his friends in front and asked in surprise, "Oh, what are you two doing? Aren't you going to class?" On the opposite side, the green-haired guy saw that the group of people knew each other and clicked his tongue in annoyance. At the same time, he didn't forget to bark out a few familiar threats. "Tisk, you just be careful, you bastard." After saying that, the three small fry turned around and left. Yuan just arrived and didn't understand anything. Only Ruchel stammered, "Thank you." "What's wrong with those guys? What happened?" Yuan asked in confusion as he watched their backs. Time passed, and the scene changed to inside the lecture hall. At this time, a bald green professor was explaining the history of the school, so the history of Union did not start when the president founded the academy, but from when the tower appeared in the original space, blah blah. In another corner, the shrimp guys from earlier were pointing their cameras at Ruchel and exclaimed, "Wow, this is really..." "Add to the collection," the first guy said, with a mean voice. The red dog, sitting in the middle, also glanced at her with a contemptuous look. What's the use of a worm like him, climbing a tower? Hearing that the blue-haired guy curled his lips and said, "Is there another job that's more suitable?" "Suitable," someone asked back. "If you come to my house to work as a maid, you'll be pampered every day," he said with a meaningful voice. "What a crazy guy, ha ha. Then I'll be the first to bid. This guy has a special ability. Just kill monsters in the dungeon and he can steal their stats. Absorb points. He feels life is Yomost, he can handle it all." When he absorbed the physical points, his body immediately became muscular and full of power.